What is going on, guys? Thank you again for tuning into my channel today. So today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about Gert Hofstede's country comparison tool. So basically, this is a really good, useful psychological or economic tool to use when comparing different countries, when trying to understand from a diversity and inclusion perspective as to why people from different nationalities and environments have different ways of managing different people within the workplace. So, if you're an employee and your managers or superiors are from a different country, maybe you're an employee working abroad, or you are somebody who has a small business, for example, who deals with uh, you know different suppliers from different countries, and you kind of find them a bit difficult at times. This will be a very useful tool for you to work together and just understand where the other party's coming from. So, basically, just a bit of background on this model that I'm going to use today. This model of Bert Hofstede's is also known as the 6D model of national culture. Provides insights into a country's culture based on its cultural values of psychology predominantly. Um, and he also worked in the field of economics when it came to understanding different countries. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dive straight into this and we're just going to compare some countries. So, start off with here, I've already got China and the United States selected here. So, if we have a look down here, we can see United States is grey and China is orange. So we're looking at power distance straight away. So China, the way the scale works here is 100. If they scored 100, it means that they're very much that particular way. And if they score zero, it means they're not that particular way at all. So power distance, for example, China is quite close to 100. It's in 80, meaning that there is a power distance relationship. So hierarchical, I guess you could say, comparatively to the USA that scores 40, where it's a bit more democratic and open to discussion. Individualism, a bit closer. Motivation towards achievement and success. This would probably um, be a reason as to why both countries are so strong economically, because they're both quite motivated towards success. Um, you know, Uncertainty and avoidance. There's more uncertainty there with China. See sort of how that potentially work. Long-term orientation, or actually more uncertainty there with US. Interesting. Long-term orientation. Um, we've got 77 versus 50. So basically, what that is if you look at Chinese culture, they plan for the next hundreds of years, thousands of years. So they very much think about the future, whereas Western society typically lives for the now a little bit more. And then indulgence here, China have, um, you know, probably better control, I guess. They don't overindulge as much as people in the United States. Okay, so you can sort of go down here now and have a look at all the different categories. This will sort of give you a bit better understanding of how this works. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one for someone who's running an Australian business. So let's say you're an Australian business um, and you're dealing with India, for example. So I'm going to say Australia and you're dealing with India. Okay, let's say you source some clothing from India, for example, or different materials, and you've got to trade with them. Okay, so straight away, power distance is something that you need to be aware of. So, you know, saying, "G'day, buddy, how you going?" to somebody who is running a big manufacturing company in India could be considered disrespectful. You want to make sure that you are greeting them with respect and sort of treating them the way that you would like to be respected if a business was to deal with you. We have a look at individualism here. Australia is a lot more of an individualistic culture versus India, which probably we work a little bit more together in groups. Motivation towards achievement and success is pretty similar, which means a good kind of business relationship could be developed. Um, Uncertainty and avoidance. So, um, we're pretty close there. Long-term orientation, pretty close. And then indulgence, again, Australia is a lot overindulges a lot more than what India does that may be a little bit more conservative in a particular area. So, um, once again, you want to look at the overall scores down here. So, um, you know, we can sort of see that, um, Australia scores low on the dimension and India scores high. So they have an appreciation for a hierarchy and a top-down structure in society and organization. So it's more of a top-down based management approach. Um, if one were to encapsulate the Indian attitude, one could use the following words and phrases dependent on the boss or the power holder for direction, acceptance of unequal rights between the power privileged and those who are lesser down in the pecking order. Immediate superiors accessible, but one layer above less so. Paternalistic leader, management directs, gives reason, meaning to one's work, life, and rewards in exchange for loyalty from employees. So very different to Australia, as we can sort of see here. Um, Superiors are always accessible, and managers rely on individual employees and teams for their expertise. Both managers and employees expect to be consulted, and information is shared frequently. At the same time, communication is informal, direct, and participative. So everyone sort of participates, everyone communicates, and a bit more transparency, I guess. And that once again comes back to Australia being a democracy, a little bit more transparency and communication, and the manager is typically more accessible. Um, as we sort of go towards more diversity and inclusion, more immigrants come to Australia from different environments and different countries across the world. This sort of dynamic can start to change workplace culture. So I would recommend definitely having a bit of a look into it, especially if you're working in a culture that is quite diversity and inclusion prone, just to sort of try and work out the best way to approach and deal with the managers and the senior leadership team if they have different backgrounds to yourself. You could also be somebody who's just come to Australia and you're just trying to fit in a little bit. That would be the way to do it, or somebody who's just moved to any country. So that's just something to sort of have a bit of a look at from a small business perspective. To formulate good relationships, you need to understand where the other party is coming from and what sort of society they've been raised in, both politically, environmentally, and religion also plays a certain aspect as well to formulating people's belief systems. So I hope you enjoyed that one for today, guys. And if you haven't already, give me a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.